Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 35 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
Yes, this week we are covering chapters 18 to 23 of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. There will be no spoilers beyond the covered chapters. You don't have to read the whole book to listen. You just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. Amanda, my love, what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I'm drinking LaCroix Pamplemousse with a
Ooh.
little splash of tequila, same as last week, once I open it and take a sip, of course. What are you drinking tonight, darling?
Well, I had a little drinky drink at dinner tonight, so I'm going to be having a drink out of my new Stanley.
Wow, now you have a summer one and a winter one.
I will cheers you to episode 35, part 3 of Fourth Wing. So
Woo!
excited. Can't wait
So
to see what
excited.
happens tonight.
Cheers! Now let's get started with the good stuff and break down Fourth Wing, Part 3. Take it away, Megan.
All right, we are starting with chapter 18. If Violet cannot be a scribe, at least she's been assigned to archive duty now that the less appealing duties have been given to the unbonded, who still have Violet as public enemy number one. Dane is still Dane, but maybe his fears weren't that far off, which is horrible to admit. But unbonded break into Violet's room during the night and attempt to kill her. Jesus, a girl can't even get a decent shut-eye around here anymore. These lunatics trying to steal Taryn from her. Newsflash, he doesn't want you.
Literally. Poor Violet can't even catch a break.
No, she literally can't. It's freaking horrible.
Yeah. And totally against the codex, which we will get into. But
Yes.
before we do that, let me read this epigraph here for chapter 18. There is nothing more sacred than the archives. Even temples can be rebuilt, but books cannot be rewritten. Colonel Daxton's Guide to Excelling in the Scribe Quadrant. Very true. Love our books.
We love our books. So, Violet, like I said, has been assigned to archive duty where she feels a stab of longing for a life she thought she was going to have. But both girls, Jasenia and Violet, are so excited to see each other, even though they're not allowed to embrace. Jasenia said that she made it into the scribe quadrant because of the studying she did with Violet last year, but she was horrified to learn that Violet had been sent to the writers quadrant, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Violet fills in Jasenia on her time in the quadrant and how she has bonded not one, but 2 dragons, and she is very happy. Violet says that she has this duty before she heads to eat, and since she's been working out with Imogen and Rhiannon, plus flight lessons, she is very hungry all of the time.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, she's got a lot going on. Her body needs all that fuel.
Yes. Violet ends up asking Jasenia if they have a copy of the Fables of the Baron, and Jasenia says she's not familiar with that text. Violet is interested in the book since she will be the one wielding magic now, so she could use a few folklores about what happens when humans defile the power channeled to them. They were no doubt written as a parable to warn them of the dangers of bonding dragons, but in 600 years of history, Violet has never heard of a rider losing their souls to their powers. The dragons kept them from that. Jasenia doesn't end up finding the book, though, and Violet is confused. She thought they had almost a copy or original of every book in Navarre. Only ultra rare or forbidden tombs are excluded. But she realizes she's never actually come across a book about wyverns and venom when she was training to be a scribe either. Bizarre.
That is so interesting because obviously we know that Violet had a copy of this book from her father, who was a scribe. So it would make sense to her that this book should just be well known, that everybody knows about these fables and
Exactly.
folklore.
Or at least they would have a copy of it in the library.
Yeah, even if they haven't read it before.
Yeah.
But it's not there.
Interesting.
What does that mean?
I guess we'll have to keep reading to find out.
Yes. So also while Violet was waiting for Jasenia to get her the new request, she bumps into Professor Markham. He is with a group of first-year scribe cadets. And he tells the group that Violet was one of his prize students until the Rider Squadron stole her away. And now she has bonded 2 dragons, which shocks the entire scribe group. Violet then goes on to give them a lesson on why the archives are the way they are and why they wear their hoods.
One of the scribe first years complains about the lack of fresh air in the scribe's quadrant, and Violet tells him that it's part of the fire mitigation system. Less air equals less risk of their history burning to the ground. And the stuffy hoods make it harder for them to stand out against the tombs. A symbol that nothing and no one is more important than the documents and books that are in that very room.
That sounds so snobby.
Yeah, they're like, we don't give a fuck if you live, but the books
Better survive.
Survive, yeah.
Yeah.
The scribes have the responsibility not only to record history, but to speed information from the front lines, and it's apparently very fulfilling. But it's always the same in Battle Brief, where Violet is getting the information, striking at faltering wards, ransacking villages high in the mountains, and more dead riders. So same story, different Battle Brief for them.
Yeah, exactly. Jasenia comes back and she also comments on Violet's appearance and how looks so different. And Violet says it's from all of her training, but really Violet wants to know how Jasenia is doing. Jasenia makes a comment about Dane, but Violet says that is a story for another day. She does not want to talk about Dane. They are beefing.
Dane the Stain.
That's gonna stick now.
Yeah, the stain on Violet's life.
Literally. When Violet makes it to lunch finally, she tells us there are new members to their squad. They gained 2 first years and 2 second years when the third squad was dissolved. But they refuse to sit with our OG gang because most of them have rebellion relics in their group. And Violet thinks, fuck them, which is so interesting to see Violet kind of have this. Not that she was ever one to shy away from rebellion relics. I think she's always been pretty curious about them, but she definitely sticks up for them now that she's getting closer and closer to Xaden.
And really, she's the one that has the argument about being so uptight about these rebellion relic kids because of her brother.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, she's the one that gives them a chance over everybody.
Yeah, if she can separate the parents from the kids with her brother being killed by them, then everyone should be able to calm the fuck down.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a Xaden tingle moment.
Ooh.
They haven't spoken since threshing, and we also know now that Violet is never alone. There is always an upperclassman with a rebellion relic watching her to make sure that she is safe.
Mm-hmm.
Imogen is as bossy as ever, making Violet eat all of her turkey, and Violet says she's not nicer when they're training together, but she is efficient.
Thank God for Imogen. It must be working whatever she's doing if even Jasenia notices a difference in her, so.
Definitely.
Sawyer has manifested his signet power.
Yay, Sawyer!
Yay! Finally, after a long year of repetition here for our guy.
Yeah, he's the first to get it of
Yes.
their group.
And he is a metallurgist, which means he can manipulate metals. And he'll need some wooden forks for a while and to stay away from the armory. So
yeah, we don't need him stabbing himself.
Yeah, he needs to refine those powers before he hurts himself or someone else.
Yes. Sawyer tells our group about Professor Carr, who is the only professor Violet hasn't met because she's not wielding yet. And Sawyer says that he is fucking terrifying.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I guess you have to be. Yeah.
Professor Carr.
When you're dealing with all these kids basically getting powers for the first time, I feel like you have to have a strict hand to keep everyone in line.
Of course, they have to develop their powers.
Yes.
So riders will manifest when their dragons are ready to trust them with all the power. But they better learn to trust them before about 6 months, which is the average time it takes for one's magic to consume them. It hasn't happened in decades, but the relic the dragons transferred onto them during threshing is a conduit to let all that magic into their bodies. If you don't manifest a signet and let all that magic out, bad things happen, aka kaboom.
Ouch. Of course, because that is, of course, the consequences for riders, because everything is life or death.
Exactly. But 6 months is just an average. It's not a solid deadline, so, we got time.
Yeah.
We have our first unbonded bonding, and apparently Jack knew it would work. Interessante.
Interesante indeed.
It was Caroline Ashton, and she bonded Gleanne that morning. His previous rider had died on their first flight lesson.
Yeah, I wonder how he knew that would work.
Yeah. I'm
What
like,
does he know? So, after flight lessons with Taryn, he is neither impressed nor not impressed that Violet only fell a dozen or so times. Taryn is having her complete harder maneuvers than the rest of the class. He says the professor is teaching them parlor tricks and he is teaching her for battle.
oh, of course he has to be different and more advanced.
Yes. Or is there something that he knows that we don't know? Is this
Interessante,
some
Megan.
foreshadowing?
Yes, for sure. Professor Kayori instructs the riders to check their dragons for debris stuck in their toes, claws, and scales that can cause infections. Tarn, he thinks this is fucking ridiculous, and he would know if there was something sticking out of him. But she continues with her checks anyways. She's smart. She likes to follow the rules, and if that's what she's being told to do for class, she's going to get an A and do it.
But it's just so funny because before they're bonded, they fly all the time without riders on them. So I'm sure they
Yeah.
know what to do if
Yeah.
something gets stuck in their bodies.
Yeah. I don't know.
Taryn's not having it.
I feel like it's probably just a way for humans to feel like they have some kind of control over the situation when in reality we all know they have none.
They have zero, yeah.
Zero.
Violet is missing Indarna. She wants her to come to flight lessons even if she can't ride her. And Taryn says that she would not be able to keep up, and Indarna tells her that she is always around even if she can't see her.
Yeah, and Darna is most likely in the Vale where she's protected by her elders there.
Yes. Violet wants Taryn to call her Violet instead of Silver One, and he makes a joke about calling her Violence like the wing leader. I
I love this dragon.
love Taryn, and
He's
his
so funny.
banter is almost better than Zayden's banter with Violet.
Literally. He's
Cracks me
like,
up.
I'm gonna say whatever I want, bitch.
Yeah. He's like, that's my name for you is Silver One. I've been calling you that since day one. And the only thing I'll consider even calling you is Violence, like the wing leader.
Just because we know you won't want that.
Yeah, just because he knows she hates that.
Yeah, literally.
Dane approaches her, and Taryn is growling at him and says that if he hurts Violet, he will scorch the ground he stands on,
That's right.
which is just so wild because Violet is like, he's my best friend. I've known him forever. He's not going to hurt me. But Taryn does not trust Dane at all.
No.
He never has a problem when Rhiannon is around Violet,
No.
Sawyer, Riddick, any of them.
Or
But
even anyone with a rebellion relic.
yeah, but when Dane comes around, he's ready to blast him into pieces.
Yeah. Dane the Stain. Karen is not a fan.
So Taryn makes Violet say this word for word, and Dane says that he will never hurt her, which Taryn has a big eye roll for.
Yeah. But Terrence hungry and gives Violet and Dane some privacy. He heads to eat a flock of sheep.
He's like, you know what? I'm hungry. Goodbye.
And not just one sheep, but a flock of sheep.
He's hungry.
There must be a lot of sheep.
He's a big boy.
Feed all these dragons.
I know. It's like an endless supply
Literally.
of sheep.
There must be.
Oh my gosh. So Dane tells Violet that he needs to speak with her. He is furious that Violet never told him that she still cannot keep her seat. He thought that after she bonded with Taryn that she would be okay, but he is still doubting her. Violet tells him she is working on it, and in the meantime, Taryn can hold her in her seat magically.
We're reminded here, though, that if Taryn is keeping Violet in her seat, he won't be able to fully channel his powers, which is why Violet is asking him to loosen up and is falling more during flight lessons.
Yeah, and everybody knows that she's not keeping her seat. Like, it's not this huge secret that she's not staying in her seat.
Yeah.
Zane and Violet continue to argue about her abilities. Imogen is training her, even though Zayden asked her to. Amber Mavis gave him shit about Violet dishonorably completing the gauntlet and that he is again terrified for her. And Violet loses it, and she's just had enough. Yeah. And so she throws his words back at her that he said to her on the first day when she entered the Rider Squadron. She repeats, "This place cuts the bullshit and the niceties, revealing whoever you are at your core. Is this who you really are at your core? Someone who is so enamored with the rules that he doesn't know when to bend or break them for someone he cares about. She goes on to say, the reason we'll never be anything more than friends isn't because of your rules. It's because you have no faith in me. Even now, when I've survived against all odds and bonded not just one, but two dragons, you still think I won't make it. So forgive me, but you're about to be some of the bullshit that this place cuts away from me.
Yes, Violet. Long overdue. He needed to be bitched out.
Yeah, that speech was long overdue. She
Yeah,
needed to put him in his place.
definitely.
Literally, she's like, you are so up the rulebook's ass that you can't even take me, your oldest friend, into consideration for anything.
Yeah.
Gross.
And he could manipulate the rules in his own way if he wanted to his own advantage, like everybody else does.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Literally,
how much do you really care about Violet?
yeah, there's that saying, if they wanted to, they would.
Exactly.
Yeah. So she's still so mad when she leaves this conversation that when she sees Zayden, who arches an eyebrow at her, she flips him off and just keeps going. But it's so crazy that she just feels like she can do that without
Yeah.
consequence.
Yeah, well, now she's like, "You can't kill me because I need to be alive for you to be alive, so
Yeah,
na
she's
na na
like,
boo boo."
and he loves it. He
Yeah,
loves
he
it.
loves it. He's like,
Yeah,
"That little shit."
yeah, I'm gonna kiss her. But chaos starts ensuing in the courtyard because a first year cadet has just gotten their signet power.
Yes, it was Jeremiah, and his signet power is manifesting, and he can read minds. He is an intrinsic, which is a death sentence in the Rider's Quadrant.
Yes. Zayden steps in closer to Violet to protect her and tells her to clear her mind and start thinking of facts so that Jeremiah cannot start reading their secrets.
And here we go with the facts again. Many Navarian defense posts exist beyond the safety of the wards. Such posts are considered to be in a zone of imminent danger and should only be staffed by military personnel and never the civilians who usually accompany them.
Yeah, Jeremiah's like, what the fuck is she thinking about that? Like,
Yeah.
why is that in her head? Also, though, Garrick starts muttering some things and saying, like, he's gonna know, he's gonna whatever. So Zayden literally wraps a shadow around his mouth from spilling Garrett's secret. So Jeremiah is picking up on Garrett's thoughts, and Zayden's like, not today.
Derek, what secrets do you have? I need to
Yep,
know.
he has one. We just don't know what it is.
Ooh. Dane describes Jeremiah's death as a merciful one compared to what will happen if they don't manifest their powers, which is kind of scary for all of those first years that haven't manifested yet.
Yeah, I'd rather have my neck snap too instead of going kaboom.
Yeah, for sure.
At the end of this chapter, Violet is asleep in her room, dreaming about the archives and her father. Her father tells her to always check her sources. First hand accounts are always more accurate, but you have to see who is writing the account. Her father also tells her that she was made differently and she was not meant to be a rider, that her mother has never understood that while riders are the weapons of their kingdom, the scribes have the real power in their worlds.
It's
Which
so true.
is so true, but also, is this like a premonition? Is her father trying to speak to her through her dreams, or is this just random? I feel like it means something for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I feel like it definitely means something.
Yeah.
And it makes you think these scribes, they don't really know what's going on. They're being told what's going on.
Yeah.
So, who's actually manipulating history? If it's happening, it could be the writer, it could be scribe.
It could be a lot of people.
That's why I think he specifically says who is writing
Mhm.
it and who is
Yeah, giving the account.
involved. Yeah.
Violet awakes suddenly to Taryn shouting at her in her head to wake up before she dies. When she wakes up, there are four unbonded men and two unbonded women in her room, with one female who she recognizes that flees the room before she can say anything, knowing that that female was the one who opened her locked door. Oren is the leader of this group, and he is trying to kill her because he wants Taryn, and there is a vendetta between the two of them, and the other unbonded cadets are there to help him. Taryn tells Violet that he is on his way. As Violet is fighting for her life, she thinks this is the end, and then
And Darna screams, sending skin prickling energy down Violet's spine, and then complete silence. No one is moving and no one is breathing.
chills.
Woo! Let's hurry up and get to the next chapter.
All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. This is so exciting. So, chapter 19, Xaden enters Violet's room like a dark avenging angel and kills everyone in sight for attacking Violet. Xaden is super sweet and protective of her in this chapter, and we just love to see it,
Yes.
especially since he never once mentioned her running away like stupid Dane would have. The duo go on to have a chat with their dragons, and we find out some really interesting information about Goldie and Darna.
Yes. So the epigraph for chapter 19 is: in response to the Great War, dragons claimed the western lands and griffins the central ones, abandoning the barrens and the memory of General Daramore, who nearly destroyed the continent with his army. Our allies sailed home and we began a period of peace and prosperity as the provinces of Navarre united for the first time behind the safety of our wards, under the protection of the first bonded riders. Navarre, an unedited history by Colonel Louis Markham.
That's an interesting epigraph for this chapter.
Very interesting,
Hmm.
to say the least. We are stopping time in this chapter. Violet describes this as if everyone in her room turned to stone, but the bodies are still warm. And Darna says to her, "Quick, I can't hold it." So Violet realizes Darna doing this. You like my Darna voice?
I love your Indarna voice.
The clock on her desk isn't ticking and no one breathes. Their gazes are frozen. Not only can Indarna stop time, but now Violet can stop time. And I'll explain more about that in a minute.
So Violet, with this gift of time, is now running for her open doorway when Xaden appears fully dressed and he is all kinds of pissed off. Violet says that this is the first time since Parapet that she is happy to see him. Which is so funny because when she sees him, obviously, at the first time at Parapet, she's like, this man is the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my entire life.
Literally.
And then she realizes who it is.
Yeah, she's like, God fucking damn it.
What the hell? Xaden flicks mage lights and tells all the unbonded in the room that they are fucking dead.
Mm-hmm.
The group is very stunned to see him and they drop their weapons. And we are reminded here.
Yes, the rule of the Codex. It is against their code to attack another rider in their sleep.
Yes. Orin is trying to reason with Xaden, trying to say that Taryn should have never bonded with Violet, that they were just correcting a mistake. Xaden tells them all that dragons do not make mistakes, and then his shadows grab all but Orin by the throat and constrict until they are all dead, which is wild what his
Wild.
powers can do.
Multiple people
Dead at the same time.
at the same time. And he
Well-
didn't even use his hands.
No, he barely flinched.
He barely flinched.
Orin keeps trying to explain to Xaden, but Xaden tells Orin that Violet should have killed him during threshing and he will not be as merciful as Violet was. Then he slits Orin's throat open.
Oh, gory.
He's very like, even though their lives are tied together, he is still very protective over Violet.
Yeah, I feel like she uses that as an excuse because she doesn't realize it yet. But I think they're just in their interactions so far, we can tell he does actually care about her a little bit.
Yeah, because she would have been dead, like,
Yeah,
before their dragons were mated and they're now bound together for life. He
exactly.
could have killed her way before that.
Yeah.
So Garrick and Bodhi arrive to Violet's room and they will grab some others to help clean up the bodies that are now all across Violet's room, while Violet may be going into shock.
Violet is saying to herself, I'm alive, I'm alive. And Xaden responds to her and says, yes, you're alive. What? Violet's like, I thought I said that in my head.
Yeah.
But it's revealed later in this chapter that Xaden and Taryn can communicate through the bond, which is news to Violet. And Sagail can also talk to Violet. So now they're all a big, happy, mind-invading family.
Of course they are.
Of course they are.
Violet is now shaking like a leaf, and Xaden reminds Violet that it's just the shock and he wants to know if she's hurt. He calls her violence and tells her to pull her shit together so that they can figure out if she's hurt or not. Zayden notes that her breathing is like shit, so they both come to the conclusion that her ribs were injured. Taryn wants Violet to trust Zayden and tell him about her vest. She is hesitant, but she does tell him that her vest has dragon skills and has pretty much kept her alive this long. But
Yeah.
Zayden's like, yeah, I like this vest, but it's not the only reason that she's still alive. Oh.
I just love how supportive he is, and he's not even her friend.
Yeah.
And Dane the Stain is such a dick to her.
Yeah, he would be like, "Oh, time to go. I'm really getting out of this quadrant now.
Yeah.
Look what happened."
See, you should have listened to me. Yeah, the vest is cool and all, but you are the reason why you're still here.
Yeah. Also, while Violet is in shock, she clocks that all the men helping clean out her room are all fully dressed at 2 a.m. We should probably put that information in our back pocket for a later date.
Yeah, for sure.
Zayden wants to see her ribs to make sure that they are not broken, and he tells Violet that he knows his way around a corset.
Okay, Zayden. Okay.
Yeah, he does. Zayden tells Violet that she will have one hell of a bruise, but she will live and nothing is broken after he does his assessment. I'd be like, keep touching me.
Yeah. Like, oh, do you want to check over there one more time?
Yeah, because then he kneels down before her and puts her shoes on.
Megan is having a heart attack.
I'm literally having a conniption. When he's done, he says, "Let's go," and puts on her cloak and buttons her like she's something precious. That's how she described it.
Yeah, he's like taking care of her in this moment. I think he knows that her shock and adrenaline, she's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And he's just like, here you go, let's move, let's get you ready and get out.
Yeah. He knows how to take care of her already. He knows what she needs.
Oh, our little romance lover over here.
I love an enemies to lovers story. It just brings my heart with so much joy.
It does.
But then he starts dragging her down the hallway and tells her to be quiet, which brings us back to the enemies part, I guess.
Romance over.
Yeah. He also can't conceal them in shadows because that would be even more suspicious. And they come to a long hallway when
Zayden pushes on stones and reveals a hidden tunnel. Violet notices the floor is smooth, like it's been traveled more than its entrance leads on. It leads to the flight fields where they can find the dragons beyond in the veil. The door at the end of the tunnel is camouflaged, blending into the rock as if part of it.
Yes, and while they're in the tunnel, Zayden tells Violet that he is not going to baby her like Atos does, which we know that. I think she knows that as well, but I guess he just felt like it needed to be said.
Yeah.
Violet says that Dane thinks this place is too dangerous for her, and after tonight, she can kind of see his point. Violet says she was asleep and she doesn't think she'll be able to sleep again. And she tells Zayden, don't even suggest that he sleep with her from now on for safety. And Zayden, with the enemies part again, says he doesn't fuck first years. He did it when he was one and he isn't going to start now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, liar.
Well, he probably didn't fuck first years, but I think he's saying here, like, I fucked second years when I was a first year or third years when I was a first year. I'm not going to fuck a first year now.
Yeah.
This is some serious foreshadowing here, I think.
Yeah, I think we need to do our finger. Foreshadowing! Violet confesses to Zayden that she has never killed anyone, and Zayden tells her she is going to have to get over that.
Yep.
Zayden tells her that they are going to go ask Taryn what the hell just happened. They need to figure it out so it doesn't happen again, because he is not going to be sleeping on her floor like a guard dog, which I wouldn't want to either. No. So I feel the same, Zayden.
Yeah.
Zayden wants Violet to keep the tunnel a secret. He's like, can you just add this to the list of things you're already keeping a secret for me?
Yeah.
He also has to assist her the rest of the way to the flight fields. And Zayden doesn't tell her why he was fully dressed, just third year business. But Bodhi is not a third year.
Yeah.
Which she doesn't question at all. She's like, okay.
Yeah. She's probably really shooken up in this moment and is not thinking clearly. But yeah, Bodhi is not a third year, so can't be third year business.
No. So Taryn, Sigale, and Andarna all land in the flight field, and Taryn knows that Zayden wants a word. Violet tells Taryn that nothing is broken and that she is just bruised, just giving him the status update on her
Yeah.
life. Taryn tells Xaden it is none of Xaden's business the power he channels to his rider. When Xaden is like, "What the hell are you channeling to her?"
Yeah.
Xaden says that it is his business if they want him to keep protecting her, that he barely made it tonight to her room. And Taryn says, "Well, it seems like 30 seconds were gifted to you." And Xaden wants to know how. What happened in Violet's room? Taryn says if Xaden tries to read him, he will be in full regrets.
Yeah. I'm like, do you know who you're fucking with here, Xaden? I know you're a big bad Sigil on your side, but
Yeah. Violet steps in and says that Xaden is just a little freaked out and not to scorch him. So we'd love to see our girls sticking up for Xaden.
yes, I'm like, okay. Against Tarn, too.
Yeah. Which then Violet hears Sigale in her head for the first time, and Violet is just in awe. Obviously, she's heard Taryn, she's heard Indarna, but now she can hear Sigale, even though she knows that Taryn and Xaden were already communicating to each other. She's just like, wow, this is so wild
Yeah.
that Sigale is in my head.
Yeah. I think she's also like, this has never happened before in any history that I've ever read. So she's just like, holy shit.
Yeah, she's like, this is blowing my scribe brain.
Yeah.
When Violet tells Xaden that she heard Sigale in her head, he's like, yeah, I know, I heard her. He said it's because they are mates, just like Xaden is chained to her, which is a poor choice of words. We
Yeah.
didn't like it when Cassian said it to Nesta, and we don't like it
No,
now.
chained, not a good word to use.
No. Xaden wants Violet to come clean and tell him if it's a power she manifested from Taryn, but then Indarna steps in.
Oh, yeah, baby. And Darna is anxious when she sees Violet and worries if she's hurt. And Violet can feel all these emotions and she knows they are not hers. She's very well aware
Hmm.
that they're in Darna's.
Yeah.
Xaden is trying to get some answers from Indarna, and she says, nature likes things all in balance. That's the first thing we're taught. Well, no, the first thing we're taught is we shouldn't bond until we're fully grown. Their power is too unpredictable, too unstable. Or maybe it's where the sheep are? We find out she likes goats better. And then she goes on to say, Feathertails shouldn't bond because they can accidentally give their powers to humans. Dragons can't channel until they're big, but they're all born with something special. This is dangerous though, because a rider could easily drain them and burn them out. I'm trying to keep a straight face in my Indarna voice. But yeah, so we basically learn here that Feathertails shouldn't bond because their power is too unpredictable, too unstable, and they're not
Mhm.
fully grown yet. So they're child
They're
dragons.
babies.
Babies, yeah.
Xaden, though, cannot hear Indarna, so Violet has to translate for him, and Xaden and Violet are shocked to find out some more things about Indarna.
Yes, and it is not just a signet. A signet, as Sigil reminds us, is a combination of the power of the dragon and the rider's own ability to channel. It reflects who they are at the core of their being. But Indarna gives her gift directly to Violet because she's a feathertail. She will be a feathertail for the next couple of years, so she's basically a child dragon, like we said. But they mature at a much faster rate than humans. Her parents passed before hatching, but it seems like Taryn and Sigale look after her. And Darna goes on to tell them that she stopped time. She can do it in small increments. That if she used too much, that it will kill them both. They tell Violet she can't tell anyone or else Indarna will be hunted. They are hoping she will mature once Violet is out of the quadrant. These elder dragons, they're already putting in more strict protections on the Feathertails. And also, there's no saying how long they'll have the ability. Most Feathertail gifts disappear with maturity when they begin to channel to their rider. So who knows how long they'll be able to stop time.
But it's just so wild. Like, we learned that that's why we don't know much about Feathertails. It's
Yeah.
because they're still children.
Yeah, they're literally the babies still.
Yeah, and Violet is shocked, and so is Xaden to find out that she is basically a baby.
Yeah.
And Darna doesn't take kindly to that. She's like, I'm not a baby. I'm way better than all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And Taryn's like, ugh, I can't.
It'll be
Yeah,
fun
it
to
doesn't.
watch her grow up.
Yeah, like Taryn and Sigil obviously did not want Indarna to be bonding or have anything to do with threshing this year. But they say Indarna does what Indarna wants to do. Like, no one is telling her
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
especially without her parents. Like, I feel like she probably feels just a little bit more independent. Like, yes, she has all these elders surrounding her to protect her, to help her find her way, but she probably feels a responsibility and a weight that most of the other kids or children dragons, feather tails, don't feel.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and that's probably why the elders like, we need to put more rules so that these feather tails can never bond ever again.
Yeah. Like they can't just do whatever the fuck they want. They're children after all. We gotta rein them in a little bit.
Yeah. Violet is worried that Professor Carr is going to kill her with this power, but since they are going to keep it a secret, no one has anything to worry about Violet stopping time. The dragons leave and Andarna needs to go take a long nap after stopping time. For just those 30 seconds,
Yeah.
she's pretty wiped out.
Yeah.
Zayden says they need to figure out how the Unbonded got into her room, and she tells him that there was a rider there. Zayden tells her at some point they are going to have to start trusting each other, and she needs to tell him right now who the rider was.
Dun dun dun.
Moving on to chapter 20, Zayden is pissed and out for justice in this chapter to avenge what happened to Violet in her room the night before. Violet gets assigned a bodyguard. The entire quadrant wants to punch Dane in the face to tell him to shut up, but but they also get a surprising message from their dragons. One of their own broke the Riders Codex, and there's about to be big consequences and a huge switch up in their wings leadership. Let's find out, shall we?
We shall. So here is the epigraph for chapter 20. Accusing a wing leader of wrongdoing is the most dangerous of all accusations. If you're right, then we failed as a quadrant to select the best wing leaders. If you're wrong, you're dead. This is from My Time as a Cadet, a memoir of General Augustine Melgreen.
Of course, he has a memoir.
Of course he does.
I can't. So while Captain Fitzgibbons is reading off the death roll, which basically just contained the names of the unbonded who attacked Violet last night, Rhiannon is in disbelief that they tried to kill Violet in her room while she was asleep. Violet is wondering if Xaden is keeping what happened to her secret, since no one in leadership knows what happened. Xaden hasn't said a single word after Violet told him who had opened her door last night.
Mm-hmm.
Xaden, of course, like she thinks about him and he appears, approaches their section, and Violet is just drooling over him. Violet says her feelings towards Xaden and her attraction towards him are why she hasn't taken anyone else to bed since she got here.
Ooh, okay, we're finally getting some confessions here.
Yeah, we're finally coming to the truth of our feelings. Finally.
Finally.
Chapter 20.
Yeah.
Dean wants to know why Xaden is approaching their group.
Yep.
He never wants to see Xaden, but
never. Ugh.
ugh.
Xaden uses his wing leader authority, though, and switches things up and moves Liam Maury to Dane's squad. And he's got some bodyguard vibes in his future.
He does. Xaden ignores Violet's outburst when she tells him that she does not need a bodyguard. Xaden just continues to speak to Dane directly, saying that Liam would make an excellent new member to their squad, that Dane can thank Xaden when they win the squad battle in the spring. Violet tries to say again, but louder this time, that she does not need a bodyguard, to which Imogen is like, yeah, good luck with that approach. She's like, yeah, honey, that's totally gonna work.
Yeah.
Xaden finally addresses her and says that she does, and he cannot be with her every moment of the day, but Liam can. Xaden also says she hasn't even begun to see overstepping. Any threat against her is a threat against him.
Mm-hmm.
He also has more important things to do than be sleeping on her floor. Xaden says Liam will be sleeping next door as he wouldn't want to overstep.
I love Liam already.
I know. I love Liam.
He hasn't even
Xaden.
said a word, but
Yeah. Rhiannon notices Panchak, and Dane wants them all to be quiet as they can feel something big is about to happen.
mm-hmm.
This is when Xaden starts climbing up to the dais, and Violet knows this is about her.
Yes. Breaches of their most sacred laws are not to be tolerated. The matter will be addressed at this moment. Xaden says a rider in his wing was brutally, illegally attacked in her sleep with the intent of murder by a group primarily composed of unbondeds, which is a violation of Article 3, Section 2 of the Dragon Riders Codex, and in addition to being dishonorable, is a capital offense.
Zayden says that he was alerted by his dragon and he interrupted the attack with two other fourth wing riders. Zayden says that he executed the unbonded riders, and some bitch named Nadine in their group said how convenient it was that they were all tears. Zayden goes on to say that this attack was aided by a rider, someone who had access to where every first year sleeps, and Zayden is calling for justice. He calls wing leader Amber Mavis to answer for her crimes.
Guilty! She's guilty.
Dane is shook and pissed. Riddick says to Nadine, she's a tier 2, or are you only biased against marked ones?
Ooh, burn.
Yeah, Riddick's always putting people in their place.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Dean keeps saying, Amber would never, and he wants Violet to go up there and tell everyone that Zayden is wrong, that wing leaders are beyond reproach. And Violet's like, I saw her, and why are you so quick to say that when you're calling our own wing leader a liar?
Yeah, again,
Amber-
just when it fucking is convenient for him.
Exactly. Amber then steps forward and says that she committed no such crime, which makes Dane double down on trying to force Violet to say that Zayden is incorrect. Violet tells Dane she was in my room, and Dane says it's impossible and tells her he wants to see her memories. He actually orders her to give him the memory. Violet says that if Dane touches her without her permission, he will be in full regrets.
That's right.
It's just so wild to me. He's known Amber for a year.
I know.
And he's known Violet her whole life. And Violet is telling him, I saw Amber with my own eyes. She was in my room. Zayden is not lying. I told Zayden Amber was in my room. Zayden's not just making this up and putting a name out there.
Yeah.
And Dane does not believe Violet.
No.
Which is just so wild to me.
Yeah, like I can't tell if he just hates Zayden that much, because I feel like it was him that said it first, and which is why he thinks it's a lie.
But if Violet says she did it, Dane, how do you not believe your oldest friend?
I know. He's an idiot. Dane the Stain.
The dragons now show up, which were mostly the wing leader's dragons and then Taryn. Amber tries to say that Zayden is using this to get revenge against her family, which I roll, Amber.
I fucking roll. Violet asks Taryn if he can see her memories and share them, and he says yes, but memories have never really been shared outside of a mated bond. It is technically considered a violation, but Violet tells him to share only what they need to see to all the dragons.
So there's Taryn breaking the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally dragon rules.
He just tells her, like, okay, just so you know, this is technically a violation, but
he does it.
Yeah.
Where Dane would never.
Never.
Then every dragon on the wall stiffens, and then the riders are receiving the memory as well. Dane is pale and Violet is pissed. She's like, you're supposed to be my oldest friends, and now you can see why I didn't tell you.
Yeah, literally. Like, she knew he was not going to believe her before he showed his true colors again. For the 10th time at this point.
Just like repetitive. It's annoying.
Yeah. The wing leaders have formed a quorum and are in unanimous agreement. And they find Amber Mavis guilty. And her sentence will be carried out by fire.
Guilty, Amber! The whole formation moves backwards. No one will stand up for her. Even her dragon has to hold back after Taryn snaps at the orange dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Violet asks if they have to, and Taryn says it's their way. Violet even goes out of her way to beg Zayden to stop this, but Taryn says that he let someone live once that tried to hurt Violet, and look what happened. Amber is then incinerated, and her dragon screams in agony.
Ugh. And Violet takes this to heart, too. She does not want anyone to die in her account, even though that's the name of the game in the Riders Quadrant.
I know, she's just so pure and so good.
I know.
That she can still see the best in people even after they've harmed her. And I think that's why she really doesn't hold anything against the rebellion kids with the marks, because she doesn't hold them accountable for their parents' actions.
Yeah. And honestly, out of all the evidence we've been given so far, like she's super strong, even though she has these physical weaknesses. She's super smart. She figures it out. She's been thriving in the Writer's Quadrant. I feel like that reason right there, that she literally will not kill people that even try to kill her,
Yeah.
makes her more of a scribe than a writer. Like
Yeah.
that one piece, I could see the argument, but
But I also think because she kind of has this scribe and writer brain, that this is another reason why she's just gonna be the greatest of all time.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Once she gets over that, she eventually is gonna have to kill someone. You're
Yeah.
gonna be in battle. Like you're maybe not in school, but you're gonna be in battle. Like you gotta do it eventually. So
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to chapter 21, we get to see Liam and Violet bonding now that they are forced to spend every waking hour together due to Zayden's orders. We also get to learn more about Liam's past and his history with Zayden. We get to see more Violet and Zayden being bickery with each other, and I just want them to get over themselves and make out. We end this chapter with Violet and Liam learning about the missive they brought up to today's battle brief will not be spoken about as they are saying nothing happened at the front. What?
uh-huh.
Hmm.
Now that little dream from Violet's dad starting to make a little sense there.
Yep.
So the epigraph for chapter 21 is, don't freak out if you can't immediately channel your dragon's power, Mira. Yeah, I know you have to be the best at everything, but this isn't something you can control. They'll channel when they feel you're ready. And once they do, you better be ready to manifest a signet. Until then, you're not ready. Don't push it. And this is from page 61 of the Book of Brennan.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, good words to live by.
Yes.
We get to see Violet and Liam have archive duty together. They've been doing this task together for the past week. Violet does like Liam. She does. She likes him, but she just thinks this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Liam will be with her for the foreseeable future unless otherwise ordered. They then encounter Cadet Pearson, who is weird around Liam.
Yeah, Violet, this is where she notices for the first time, personally, the outright
Mhm.
hostility towards the marked ones. And she describes it as becoming glaringly, uncomfortably obvious to her. These
Yeah,
poor
she doesn't like
kids.
it. I
Yeah.
know, especially because Liam is just so kind and she's getting to know
Yeah.
him and she's like, "He is so good and look at all he's doing for me. How dare you disrespect him?"
Yeah.
Violet doesn't know how Liam deals with this, but Liam tells her that she's rude to him all the time. And she's like, "Well, yeah, because I don't want a babysitter, not because of your rebellion relic."
Thanks for the clarification there, Violet.
Yeah, there's a huge difference,
Huge
duh.
difference. Yeah.
Violet says she isn't better though because she hated Zayden when she first saw him, but Liam says that, well, he has that effect on people. Liam knows Zayden really well, and Zayden picked Liam for a reason. Jasenia then hands them over Captain Markham's brief for class today, as he forgot it before he left. Violet also doesn't want Liam flirting with Jasenia since she has a future and their lives as riders can be gone at any second. Liam knows that Violet wanted to be a scribe, and he did his research on her after he was assigned to be her bodyguard. We learn that Zayden and Liam were also fostered together.
Yes. And we learn what an apostasy is, a Tyrish term for the rebellion, and Violet hasn't actually heard it in ages.
Mhm.
King Tory's response after the rebellion was swift and cruel. But Violet was 15 at the time, mourning the loss of her brother, who was killed by the people of the rebellion. The burning of Arisha, the capital of Tyrandur, never sat well with Violet, though. Violet finds out from Liam that his father was part of the rebellion. His name wasn't listed on the death roll of the executions from Chaldeer, so she was surprised. Liam tells her that his father was actually executed at their family's house before it was given to another noble. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Violet continues to learn that Liam had a sibling and he was separated from them and was sent to live in a foster home. She hadn't read about any of this, and she reads a lot of context on the rebellion.
Yeah, so there's a lot that's not being written down. So that's like
Yeah,
another thing that's coming into play about her dream about her father.
exactly. Yeah. And since a lot of the treaty addenda was classified, Violet also didn't realize that there were 107 marked ones, and they were all to be riders. That was part of the deal of letting them live. Zayden was the oldest, and the youngest was almost 6. She was born with her rebellion relic. That's fucking wild.
It's so insane that she was born with it. She has nothing to do with any of the rebellion.
Yeah. So she
And
literally was in her mother's womb when the rebellion was going on and still has a death sentence to be
yep,
conscripted to the Rider Squadron.
yep, she was born with a death sentence. That's insane.
Yeah. Wild.
So sad. But Liam changes the subject, as I would too,
Hmm.
and asks Violet if it's hard for her to be in the archives. And Violet says that it's like coming home, nothing has changed, but Violet is feeling like she's changed, like she doesn't quite fit in here in the archives anymore. When Jasenia returns, she finally notices Violet's neck, and Violet assures her it's nothing and that they will see her tomorrow because she is still black and blue around the neck from her attack.
Yeah.
Liam says that Zayden taught him how to fight and why he's done so well in the challenges since he's got here. And Violet will have to get used to Zayden since they will be stuck together forever or until one of them dies. Violet wants to know how Liam can stand watching over her because of her mother is, but Liam tells her that he owes Zayden everything.
Mhm.
So he's basically like, it doesn't matter who you are, who your mother is. I owe everything to Zayden, and
Yeah.
that's all that
I'm gonna do
matters.
whatever he asks of me.
Also, Violet is just like such a kind person. Like, it's probably really not that hard for Liam to be around her
No.
24/7.
Yeah. And she's showing them respect by not blaming what their parents did on the children. So, I mean, I feel
Mhm.
like they're kind of doing the same for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The roll they are carrying back drops to the floor, and Violet sees the top of the scroll and the words.
So she sees the conditions at Somerton are of particular concern. A village was ransacked and a supply convoy looted last night. Another high altitude attack. But Violet doesn't think this makes sense. They had an agreement with poor Emil. Hmm.
Hmm.
So after Violet sees this, she puts the scroll away. She's like, we're going to learn about this in battle brief. I shouldn't have looked at this yet, but we'll get answers once we get to class.
Yeah.
We got a little update on Andarna. She was sleeping and would be for a few days since she used so much power stopping time.
Mhm.
Taryn, he's just waking up and he's hungry, and Violet can feel his hunger. Liam tells her that it's supposed to help when they start channeling and they will have the power to shield them out, but Professor Carr won't bother with any of them, of course, until they start channeling.
Which is so silly because they can obviously like hear their dragons all the time. Like, it would
Yeah.
be very useful to be able to shield them even if they're not channeling. So before the battle brief class, Rhiannon says that she wants to be like all the cool kids who come out of Professor Carr's classroom. And Violet's like, well, we all will eventually. She's always like, glass half full, we will be there soon.
Yeah.
Everything is gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Then while they're sitting in class, Liam lets Violet know that Zayden has arrived, but she already felt the prickle at the back of her head, and she just holds up her middle finger. She's just like,
I
it
love
was
her.
so funny.
She's so funny.
Liam's like, okay, well, now he's glaring at us. And does Violet enjoy pissing him off? And Violet's
Yes.
like, oh, well, you can find out for yourself. Which obviously Liam is never going to agree to do that.
No.
Violet's like, there's just one assassination, one time, and now she's stuck with the bodyguard. But even her friends are like, do you remember Threshing? Do you remember Jack Barlow? Like,
Yeah.
maybe Liam being around isn't such a bad thing.
Yeah.
Liam also says he isn't opposed to sleeping in Violet's room, and Violet calls him a shameless flirt. She's like, you were flirting with Jasenia earlier.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about sleeping in my room? And Rihanna tells
Liam.
right? Liam,
Oh,
sir.
okay.
Rhiannon tells Liam not to mind Violet because she's just sexually frustrated. Liam's like, well, I can review candidates so you can stop flipping off Zayden. And Rhiannon makes a joke that Liam could watch Violet while she's having sex. Like, what? Rhiannon? Freaky.
Freaky. Okay, Rhiannon.
Liam is sleeping next door, but
Zayden, of course, that was never going to happen to Violet again. He wards Violet's bedroom door so that only she can open it. And because he created the ward, he can open it too. So there's only 2 people that can get into that room now.
Yeah, and Violet just is having a very hard time with the switch up to wrapping her head around from Xaden wanting to kill her to Xaden protecting her, which I think is a little silly because Xaden never tried to kill her.
Yeah, no. Literally.
Never.
I think too, she's almost kind of realizing that he cares about her. It's not even just like about the killing now. She's like, are we friends? Is it more than just protecting your own life at this point?
Yeah. The switch up for her is hard, though. It's just so funny because I can see if he actually tried to kill her, maybe he attacked her once, or I don't know, did
Yeah.
something to her, then I could be like, okay, I can see why she's confused now with the protecting and it's a weird switch up. But he never did. He was
No.
just like, go away, you're annoying.
Yeah. He's like, this will kill you instead. That will kill you instead. I don't have to.
Yeah.
So here we are in battle brief. The numbers have decreased so much that no one actually has to stand anymore. In fact, there are actually a lot of empty seats. They lost another first year that day before
Oh my
battle
God.
brief when they got too close to someone's red scorpion tail on the flight field. So they are just dropping like flies over here.
Ouch.
Leadership has decided that the winner of this year's squad battle will also be given a trip to the front lines to shadow an active wing.
Like,
Yay! We are set to die if we win.
yeah, like, is that smart? What?
I guess this is another sign, maybe, that they're trying to prepare even younger cadets than just the third years to have to
Yeah.
step into battle, because there's no way. We've already gotten a mention that nobody has ever gone into battle
Besides third years.
besides third years,
Yeah.
which Dane didn't even realiage happened at the time
Yeah.
that we found out that information. So I feel
He's
like
a
this is
loser.
a little foreshadowing here for sure.
Foreshadowing.
DeVere continues and says that the front lines are relatively quiet today, so they will study the Battle of Ganfar. But this does not align with the information Violet saw in the scroll this morning, and she is confused. She's thinking, was it marked confidential? What the fuck? Why is it all of a sudden nothing is happening today? It's quiet.
Yeah.
No one knows that a Navarian village was ransacked last night along the border and supplies were looted.
Yeah.
But before we move on, we do learn a little bit about the Battle of Ganfar. It was one of the final battles that the Griffins and Dragons fought together to annihilate the army of the Barons.
Which they don't talk about who they were battling.
No.
Which is weird. Why isn't that a question? Like, who were the Griffins and the Dragons fighting in the Barons?
Yeah. It
yeah.
is interesting, though, that they choose to pick this instance to talk about this battle when they know that, or there's kind of foreshadowing, like we're assuming here, that they're going to have younger riders sent to battle. So interesting that that's the topic that they're going to discuss.
Yeah, and it's just wild. Like, Jasenia was probably never supposed to hand that document over to Violet today. Like, I don't think Professor Markham just forgot it at his desk.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever supposed to make it into the Riders Quadrant. And because Violet's like, was it marked classified? Did she miss it? I don't think she would have. She's very smart. She can remember a lot of things. And so it is very interessante that they did not talk about what happened the night before.
Very. This is where we're starting to get juicy here, people.
Yeah, like something is amiss.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to chapter 22. Violet is still grumpy that she is not channeling, and she is totally sexually frustrated. I mean, I would be too if Xaden was being all hot and broody around me all the time, especially when he takes his shirt off and is sparring with Garrick. I mean, two hot men.
I'm getting hot just thinking about it.
Woo! After another showdown with Jack, Taryn and Andarna decide Violet is ready for her powers. But there are some consequences now that she is more in tune with Taryn. And while Taryn is getting some lovin' from Sigale, Violet almost bursts with lust, but it does help her get into Xaden's arms for their first
We got a kiss. We got a kiss. We got a kiss.
Chapter 22. Holy shit.
So let's get this epigraph for chapter 22 over with so we can get to this kiss.
Yes.
The first rush of power is unmistakable. The first time it forms to you, surrounds you with a seemingly endless supply of energy, and you'll be addicted to the high, to the possibilities of all you can do with it, to the control you have in the palm of your hand. But here's the thing. That power can quickly turn and control you. from page 64 of the Book of Brennan.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Brendan is so smart.
He's so smart.
December has arrived and Command has still not released the information Liam and Violet learned about back in November. They knew they just couldn't ask about the information either.
Mm-hmm.
Secrets, secrets, secrets are no fun. Secrets, secrets, secrets can hurt someone.
Tell us, Megan.
All right, Violet is still not keeping her seat during flight lessons either with Tarn. So really same old is going on.
Yeah. And Violet is getting frustrated that she hasn't manifested a signet power yet. But Taryn is telling her that she is not ready, at least at the beginning of this chapter, anyways.
But our girl is still training hard. She's still training with both Rhiannon and Imogen, though Rhiannon notes that Violet seems distracted tonight, but she is a lot faster.
Yes. So we learn a little bit about their class schedule here, and these days are endless as a first year rider. They have a full academic schedule, flight lessons, wielding instructions for those that have actually started channeling, and now Dane the Stain has added Tuesday night hand to hand practice for Violet's squad to keep up on their training. And challenges resume after solstice. So I guess this is kind of a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just trying to keep Violet alive, even though they're not speaking.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like he doesn't even give a shit about Violet at this point. He just wants to win the squad battle.
True. Yeah, because he wants to be the wing leader next year. So
Yeah.
if he wins the squad battle or his squad wins the squad battle, it's most likely that he has a better chance of being wing leader the next year.
Exactly, yeah.
Zayden and Garrick arrive at the sparring gym, and Zayden and Violet make snapping comments to each other. And Rhiannon is just shocked how Violet speaks to Zayden. Violet's like, What? What is he even going to do? Kill me?
She's such a ball buster. I love it.
Yeah. Liam is sitting on the sidelines just doing his wood cutting that he likes to do. And he's like, yeah, they're most likely to kill each other. And he can't wait to see what their dynamic is going to look like after graduation.
Mm-hmm.
Big topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Rhiannon also knows about Violet's frustrations about Taryn not channeling yet, and it's better if she takes her frustrations out on Rhiannon than a shadow wielding wing leader.
True.
Yeah. Violet's mad that he put a shadow on her but doesn't even help her or help train her. He just shows up when she's about to die and then leaves again. She's like, you can't even help me yourself. You have to put a babysitter on me. If I have to deal with this, I want to deal with you and not anyone else. As nice as Liam is great. She's just furious that someone took her freedom away.
Exactly.
Then Violet looks over to where Zayden is at the center of the gym, and Violet is feeling some type of way now because he is shirtless, baby.
Oh, hell yeah. And this is actually where we see Zayden's rebellion relic for the first time. And it twists around his upper body. He also has the largest dragon relic Violet has ever seen. Sigale's mark takes up his entire back. We learn later in this chapter, too, that it's a navy blue dragon, of course, but has textured silver lines Violet can recognize as scars. We'll learn more about that later, I'm sure. Garrick's rebellion relic is the second largest Violet's ever seen because he's sparring with Zayden. They're both shirtless, both beautiful sights, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
But his relic only extends to his shoulder, so it's not quite as big, but still the second largest that she's ever seen.
Liam is offended. He's like, can we stop objectifying our wing leader, please? And Rhiannon's like, is that what we're doing?
Yeah. She's like, let me think about that.
Yeah. Taryn, though, when Rhiannon gets a good kick at her before Rhiannon notices the shirtless man, Taryn's like, that serves you right. Dane, of course, is not pleased with Violet staring and says if they are this easily distracted, then they are going to be fucked for the squad battle.
See?
Shut up, Dane.
This is all he cares about is a stupid squad battle.
Yeah, this is the first time he's even spoken to Violet since Amber, and Dane is still looking at Violet with betrayal in his eyes. Rhiannon then knocks down Violet when they are sparring, and of course, Jack Barlow shows up to taunt her.
Of course. He starts questioning Violet and asks her why she is not channeling yet, and also, shouldn't she have two signets with two dragons? And obviously we know it doesn't work like that within Darner. As we've learned, she's still a child, but they don't know this information yet.
Liam tells Jack to walk away, and then Zayden is standing directly behind Violet. And Jack pales and says the only reason why Violet is still alive is because of Xaden. And Xaden's like, yeah, I was the one who threw a dagger in your shoulder at threshing.
Literally.
Jack's like, okay, well, we can just settle this right now. But even Garrick and Imogen have stepped closer to Violet during this interaction. So they're all protecting her. Liam's there, Xaden's there. Now Garrick and Imogen are even closing in closer to her.
Hell yeah.
When Jack goes to walk away, Violet yells, "You ran. It was 3-on-1 and you still ran. And when it comes down to it again, you'll run because you are a coward."
Fuck yeah. I love her bitching people out. She's so
Yeah,
good at it.
she's so good. She knows when to strike and how to strike and get them where it really hurts.
Yeah, she says exactly the right words, too.
Yeah. Zayden's like, well, she's not wrong. And Garrick even laughs as Jack lunges for them. But Liam's like, not on my watch, sir.
Yeah.
And shoves Jack out of the gym.
Yeah, and just with a flick of his hand, Xaden uses the power. Or no, is it Xaden or
Xaden.
And with just a flick of his hand, Xaden uses his power to shut the huge doors and lock Jack out.
Yeah. And then Dane, of course, is like, what are you thinking? Why are you egging him on like that? Blah, 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 blah. Violet goes to tell Dane off too, but Xaden steps in front of her and he is angry. And he's like, we need a minute. And he wants to know why Violet isn't wearing her dragon scale vest. And she's like, it was wet. I have to wash it at some point. And he's like, well, being in the sparring ring is not the greatest time for you to fucking take it off to wash it. Xaden now knows that Violet still doesn't trust him, even though he can't kill her. She says, well, you can still hurt me. So there's still some misplaced mistrust and tension between them. And I think that really does hurt Xaden's feelings.
Yeah.
He's like, look at all I've done for you. Why don't you still trust me?
Yeah, and I can kind of see why Violet has these reservations. At the end of the day, Mira did tell her, the one person who she probably trusts more than anyone in this world, to stay the fuck away from him. So regardless of what Dane says or what Xaden's actions are, she's always going to have that little person in the back of her head saying, are you sure? Are you sure? Be careful.
Be careful. Yeah. But Xaden gives her some advice and tells her to stick to the daggers and not to train with the bow staff, which is interesting. Obviously, we know daggers are her strong suit, but it's interesting. He's like, just stick to what you're good at. Let's not add anything new in.
Yeah. He's like, you're already like mediocre at the stuff you're good at. You need to keep up with that and get better. Violet is distracted by Terran's anger, and Xaden says she needs to learn how to block it out. Dane defends her at the weirdest times, which Xaden points out, and agrees, but says she's not used to the bond yet, and she will learn to block it out eventually. Like, shut the fuck up, Dane the Stain. Go stain somebody else's life.
Yeah. Xaden tells Violet to do them both a favor and to put her vest back on. And like Amanda said earlier, when he walks away, she can see the silver scars all over his back. Taryn says that Violet held her own and controlled her temper. Did she? I mean, she kind of didn't. And both Taryn and Indarna agree that she is ready.
She is ready.
Ready, woohoo, for some magic.
Magic. Not fast, though. This is a very fucking slow process here. It takes months.
Slow magic. Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, Megan.
Slow magic.
Ooh. I love us.
I love us too.
So a couple of hours later, Violet feels energy race down her spine, vanishing in a heartbeat. Then another wave ripples through her, but it's stronger this time. The energy does not vanish this time, though. It lies beneath her skin and it's humming, ringing her ears and overwhelming every sense. Something too big for her own body expands inside her, and it feels like she's literally splitting in two. She drops to her knees from the pressure in her head and just breathes through it. She feels the power prowling through her veins. She says it feels like everything I am and everything I can be all at once. This is energizing me, even.
I know, like, I'm ready. I'm ready for this power.
Give me that power, baby. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Her palms are tingling, but they don't look any different. They are strong enough, though, to handle the power inside her and allow her to mold it into whatever the fuck she wants. She knows this is Taryn's power, but neither Taryn or Andarna confirm for her.
Yeah. Violet, after, that excruciating pain and the experience she just went through stops, she wants to go and tell Rhiannon right now. Rhiannon is going to be so excited that she will now get to join her in Professor Carr's class. And now Liam can stop pretending that he can't channel just so he isn't forced to leave Violet for an hour.
Yes. Suddenly, heat rushes over Violet and settles low in her stomach.
Ooh.
She's channeling, baby.
But what is she channeling, Amanda?
Her vision blurs and need slams into her, robbing her of all logical thoughts. And she realizes it's lust.
Lust.
But all of the need, the lust, the craving for the one person who she's meant to be with, it's Taryn. His emotions are overwhelming and controlling Violet at this time.
Yeah, Taryn and Sigale are bound to go well.
Yeah, whatever
And
the fuck they're doing.
yeah,
Violet is feeling it and it's steamy.
they're having some steamy dragon sex.
Yeah.
Violet runs out of her room first and sees Liam, but then she runs back into her room because she does not want to jump Liam in her
Yeah.
lust filled state.
No.
Liam was out guarding her door and she just wants him to go to bed so she doesn't rub him like a cat in heat. But she knows Liam is not the one she truly wants.
Mhm.
Once she knows that Liam is in his room safely from her, she flees and makes her way outside. Violet knows she needs to stay away from everyone until Taryn and Sigale are done doing whatever they are doing.
Dragon
But
sex, dragon sex.
sex, dragon sex. But when she gets outside, of course,
Of
Zayden is
course.
leaning against the wall like he doesn't have a care in the world.
Yeah, and he's puffing on some churrum.
Hells yes.
Okay, Zayden. This sounds like a marijuana alternative if you ask me. They're
Mhm.
not allowed to smoke it though, but Zayden feels like he has no choice being bonded to Taryn and Sigale. He even offers some to Violet. He's like, here, it'll help you with distancing yourself. And, it's something you roll up. So definitely a marijuana alternative for
Yeah.
their world.
This isn't his first rodeo with
No.
Taryn and Sigale.
Yeah.
Violet tells Zayden that she feels like she is on fucking fire, and Zayden is so unbothered. He's like, yeah, that happens, and he's just laughing,
Yeah.
which makes Violet feel like she's even more on fire because seeing him laugh. Violet says there isn't anything she wouldn't give or sacrifice to have an unguarded moment with Zayden.
Woo!
Whew, they're
Eating up.
she's like, I'm gonna rip my clothes off.
Literally.
Violet knows, though, that this isn't Taryn's emotion. She knows that she is obsessed with Zayden Ryerson,
I
which,
love the confession.
same girl, same.
Same, same.
Zayden tells Violet that she is going to need to block out the two dragons or she's going to end up in someone's bed. Violet says, I know, I'm going to be horrified to see Liam again. And then all of a sudden, Zayden's like, wait, where is your bodyguard? Is he in your bed? And then he's like, wait, it doesn't matter as long as you guys are both consenting. He's like mad and jealous, but he's like, wait, I cannot tell her that I'm mad and jealous.
Yeah. And Violet knows he's jealous too.
Oh,
She's
for
like,
sure.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's mad.
So, of course, they have the ability to learn to block this out,
Mm-hmm.
this dragon sex going on in their brain. And Zayden asks Violet why she isn't shielding. But of course, you don't get lessons from Professor Carr until you channel your power and can wield. So Zayden's like, that's a dumbass rule, but here, I'll give you a crash course.
Yeah. Zayden says that he has been helping her for months, but Violet just feels like it was self serving for himself so that he wouldn't die. That Liam has been the one watching out for her, not him. Zayden tells her that they are not fighting tonight. Not tonight. Not why this is going on.
No.
And then makes her beg for his help, or he will leave her in her lust filled state and not teach her how to wield.
Ooh, he's teasing her now.
He's getting off on this.
Yep.
Zayden says this happens often enough between Taryn and Sigale that she will need to learn how to shield. And when Violet finally asks him, he's like, okay, now say please. Zayden says he's only difficult when he has something Violet needs after all she puts him through the past few months. And she's like, what I've done to you? And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you've scared me to death more than once. So you saying please is a fair request. Violet says please dramatically and for him to teach her before she climbs him like a tree and they both wake up with regrets. Girl, do it
Should have
anyway.
just let it happen.
Yeah. Zayden says that he is fully in control, but since she asked so nicely, she should close her eyes. Violet's like, okay, then why are you touching me? Does this require your touching? And he's like, no, it's just one of the perks of not thinking too clearly. But Zayden, I thought you were fully in control, sir.
Yeah, what
What
happened?
happened?
Mm. But finally, after like 3
Finally.
pages of this banter, we're on
Oh
to the
my
lesson.
God. I need a drink or a cigarette after that.
Literally. Zayden tells her to envision somewhere, anywhere. Zayden often thinks of his favorite hill near what's left of Orisha. And the only place Violet can think of course, is the archives.
Of
He
course.
tells her to feel her feet hit the ground and dig in some. That's called grounding. It keeps your mental self somewhere so you can't get swept away by the power. She's unnatural, of course, and
Of
picks it up
course.
right away, although most people take at least a week to learn grounding. He tells her now, call to her power and open her senses. A flood of energy surrounds her, but without the pain this time. It's everywhere. But Zayden tells her to find where it's coming from, and she does. It's flowing in through the door to the archives. Zayden tells her now to mentally do whatever she needs to do to block herself from the current. Taryn is a source, and if she blocks it, she will gain some control back. She knows she has to shut the door, and it takes a lot of mental effort, but she eventually shuts the door. And Zayden tells her, good, now lock it. And she does. But it changes. She can see through it now. The door is clear. And that's because she will never be able to completely block them out. But he tells her she just has to keep that door locked by keeping one foot grounded. And if she slips, you just repeat the process.
She's a very good student.
Yes, she is.
Zayden is very impressed. He then
Good.
tells her that touching her was a bad idea. Then he tells her that kissing each other would be so bad and they would be in full regrets in the morning, and Violet agrees. But then Zayden says, fuck it. And then they are full on making out up against a wall.
Yes, I love
Let me tell you, when I listened to this part on the graphic audio, I was so red
it.
and so heated myself. I was like, why am I in my car right now? I need to be home. It
She's like,
was
pause.
sexy.
Hell yeah. I need to hear it. I need to share that audio with me.
I know I will have to show you because it was the best ever. You
Oh,
think reading it was hot? Listening to
I
them?
know.
He's like, oh, violence.
Oh, shit. I want to hear it after we're finished.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Also, a flash of light burns behind Violet's eyes while they're making out, and thunder booms. Thunder snow? Never heard of it, but apparently it isn't uncommon, but it definitely summarizes how Violet is feeling in this moment.
Ooh,
Ooh,
interessante.
interessante.
After pages of steamy kissing, he pulls back and tells Violet that she needs to go. Zayden says he refuses to act on desire that isn't hers. But Violet knows that this is her desire, but he doesn't believe it. Zayden tells her to have mercy on him and to go since he can't leave her alone outside. So clearly, we know the desire Zayden is feeling is Zayden's.
Yeah.
And he wants Violet to have some mercy on him because he can't wrap his head around now that Violet would also be feeling true desire for him.
Yeah, I think he's fully convinced in this moment that it's all Taryn and Segal's emotions that are
Mhm.
overwhelming her. And she
Yeah.
can't possibly have any feelings for him.
Dude, she's been obsessed with you since day one.
Literally.
Literally. Violet does relent and goes back inside, feeling a little hurt from Zayden's rejection. When she gets back to the top of the stairs, common sense comes back and she knows that it would have been a huge mistake. But she does want to turn back around and go back outside. And she knows tomorrow is going to suck.
Yeah.
On to our last chapter of this episode, chapter 23. Violet is still stewing from her steamy makeout with Zayden, though he hasn't spoken to her since it happened. But Violet has other things on her mind as well, like what's going to happen when Zayden graduates and having to deal with their bonded dragons. Dane tries to make up with Violet, but ugh, gross.
Ugh.
And Jack finally gets what he's been wanting since they stepped into the Riders Quadrant, and that is a one-on-one challenge with Violet, and he is going for the death kill. Fuck him.
I hate him.
Hate him.
So the epigraph for chapter 23 is: the most worrisome sight for any instructor is most definitely when powers backfire. We lost 9 cadets my first year to signets that could not be controlled from their first manifestation. Pity. And this is from Major Offender's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant, the unauthorized edition.
Do you think he actually meant that pity, or is like pity like who cares, moving on, or like
Oh.
actual pity?
No, yeah, you're probably right. He probably was like, pity, they sucked. There was 9 unqualified cadets in my year.
9 unqualified. They were a liability to the wing.
Yeah. No, but I think it is kind of sad
Oh, for sure.
that
Yeah.
they have literally made it this far, farther than anyone, and they're about to hit the final task to being a writer, to channel, and then you just blow up instead. Devastating.
This whole book is devastating.
Yeah, literally.
Rhiannon is finally getting all the tea the next day from Violet and cannot believe that Violet waited this long to tell her. And
Yeah.
Violet's like, well, it was really hard to get away from my shadow.
Yeah, she's like, I had a long ass night and I have a fucking shadow, so.
Yeah. Violet is not having any regrets about the kissing. She just hopes that it doesn't make it weird between them. Violet also tells Rhiannon that Xaden sure knows his way around a kiss.
Ooh, she's filling in her bestie about those luscious shadow daddy lips. The relic on Violet's back is burning today, almost like a reminder that she can channel now.
Mm.
After graduation, usually wing leaders get to pick where they're going to be stationed. So Xaden will have to pick, and Violet will just have to follow since Taryn and Sigale haven't been separated in years.
Mm-hmm.
Sigale's last rider died 50 years ago, and she followed Taryn wherever he went with his last rider, Naolan, until he died in Tyrander. But Violet is worried about what the next 2 years will look like when Xaden graduates. Ferge told Rhiannon, that's her dragon, that they can't be apart for more than a couple of days. So Violet won't be able to be away from Taryn either. Most bonded pairs, they bond within the same year so that they don't have these issues. But of course, we have to have this complicated situation to think about. And what the hell is going to happen?
Of course
Of
we
course we
do.
do.
Yeah, Violet is super worried about not being able to stay up on her game, while she's also worried that Xaden isn't going to be as effective as he could be in the front lines if they're constantly having to fly back and forth to see
Yeah.
each other, or for their dragons
Yeah,
to
it's
see
going
each
to be a
other.
burden on all of them involved. Even the dragons, who are going to have no time to sleep and rest and prepare either. So,
Yeah, it's just going to be a
Yeah.
huge mess. Violet says that Xaden is the most powerful rider of their generation, which Rhiannon chimes in that he is for now.
Mhm.
Liam is looking for Violet, but they tell him to get lost for 5 minutes before they go to class. Rhiannon's like, wow, he must owe Xaden his life, which he basically does, and Violet is starting to feel the strain of all the secrets she's keeping, especially from her friends.
Mhm. Rhiannon, though, she's excited to show Violet her new signet power.
Yay!
Yay! She makes the history book on her desk disappear and then reappear in her hands. Her signet power is
Mhm.
summoning. Locking doors and moving
Yep.
objects are minor magics that they gain through their channeling, but summoning is a hell of a signet that Violet hasn't read about in the last century, so it's super rare. Once she
Mhm.
develops it, she will be able to even go through walls. A rare signet like this will make her career. Go fucking Rhiannon.
Yeah, she deserves
does,
it,
she does.
honestly.
She's a
She's
badass.
already a
Yeah.
badass.
Okay, Megan, get out of my head.
Get out of my head. Liam, the little cutie that he is, carved a wooden dragon that is of Taryn for Violet.
Yay,
So
I love
cute.
that.
He says he wanted to carve in Darna first, but he hasn't seen her enough to get the carving correct, which is just
I know.
it's so stinking
Like
cute. Like how talented
yeah,
he
and how
is.
intricate is this design if he has to actually see the dragon a lot? Like, it's not just some rinky
Yeah.
dink little black dragon, it's probably like an exact replica.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool.
So cool.
So Basgaiath, as we know, they move on quickly with their deceased. There is already a new
Mhm.
wing leader to take Amber Mavis's spot.
Yes, the new wing leader is Lamani Zohar, who is the executive officer, so it wasn't that hard of a
Mhm.
decision of who should be the new wing leader of Third Wing. Violet is, she's still thinking about Zayden and his arms wrapped around her, and then Zayden looks up at her as if he could feel her staring at him. And Rhiannon says that they will be late to class, but Violet watches Zayden's mouth tense because Dane is standing behind her and wants to
Ugh.
talk. Dane wants to talk about them not speaking for weeks, that Violet didn't show him the memory, she had Taryn do it, that even if they were fighting, he wanted to know that she had been brutally attacked in her room. Dane says it is on him for not believing Violet, but he couldn't reconcile the Amber he knew with what was being said. That's just, that I don't care. That's
What about the Violet you knew?
yeah, the Violet not just knew.
Literally.
Violet says to Dane, you didn't ask. And not only didn't you not ask if you could have my memory, she knew that he wouldn't have believed her. And this is why she almost didn't even tell Zayden the truth, because she didn't think that Zayden would believe her
Yeah.
either.
It affects her more than you would think when her best fucking friend doesn't even believe her. She can't tell somebody that she doesn't trust fully the truth and either because she's like, well, if Dane fucking doesn't believe me, nobody's gonna.
Yeah, for sure. Dane says Violet trusts Zayden more than him, but Violet's like, I have to. Whether they like it or not, or even Zayden and Violet like it or not, they are stuck together, even though neither of them
Yeah.
want to be. Dane says Violet isn't weak to him, and Violet's like, it doesn't matter what you think. It matters what I think of myself. I'm a writer, and until Dane stops looking at her like he wants to keep her locked up, they are never going to get past this argument. Dane is like, so what? Zayden gets a pass about his control issues. He put Liam on Violet at all times. And Violet's like, well, yeah, it's for his safety too. What's your
Yeah.
excuse? What is Dane's excuse?
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one. Violet just wants Dane to respect her and that she can take care of herself. She has two badass dragons that can take care of her if need be. Then Dane cups her face during the last part of this conversation, and as he apologizes for not asking for the memory.
Don't touch her. I don't like it.
Literally is like, I'm sorry for not asking for the memory, as he's probably taking memories
Right?
from her.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. Like, obviously, we can't prove it, but it just sus.
It's just real sus.
Violet finally heads into class where Professor Carr is impatiently waiting for
Yeah.
her.
So Violet is finally channeling, but of course, no signet power has presented itself yet. Professor Carr, though, fills us in on the extraordinary signet powers of the Soaring Gales. Mirror has the ability to manifest a ward around her and her squad. She's been a great asset to her wing and a highly decorated soldier. Brennan, he died so young, but he was a mender, and they are so, so very rare. It's not mentioned here in the chapter, but I thought it would be a good place to also remind our listeners that General Lilith Sorrengail, their mom, has the power to manifest storms. But Violet, she's going to just start with lesser magics here in class, though, until her signet manifests.
Yeah. Rhiannon then reminds Violet that she is the most powerful rider in their generation.
Ooh, chills!
Chills! Now we're in January.
We're just jumping months here. Violet is still practicing her shielding and adds a window into the archive of her power for Indarna's power. She must visualize and keep 1 foot grounded to block the bonds as much as possible.
Yeah, and she still has this hectic routine going, but she still wins her first challenge back and gets a new dagger from a girl in second wing.
Yes, but the toughest, most exhausting lesson for Violet is learning which door of power is Taryn's and which is Indarna's and keeping them separate. No one's ever had to do this before either, so it's not like she has anybody guiding her.
Yeah, she has no one to ask, no
Yeah.
books to read.
Yeah.
Also, Zayden and Violet have not talked about their kiss, which is bothering her.
It's okay. Build up the sexual frustration. I like it.
I like it. I like the enemies to lovers. I love a slow burn.
Yes. Riddick, we learned, can wield ice, which is more of a common signet, but it's still cool to see in Violet's
Mhm.
eyes. Sawyer's metallurgy powers are growing daily, and Liam can see a single tree miles away, so he's a far seer.
He is so cool.
So cool. I love learning about these new signets too as more and more people start channeling.
Yeah, me too.
Violet also, she can technically stop time, but she refuses to do it again since it made Indarna sleep for a week for only 30 seconds of stopping time.
Yeah,
But
that's a lot.
yeah. But she's, of course, been practicing the lesser magics, like I just mentioned. She can lock a door and open it, and now she can use an ink pen. She will no longer have to write
Ooh,
her notes
that is so
manually.
helpful. In the third week in January, she wins another dagger from a guy in Third Wing, but she still cannot wield a signet power. During the fourth week, she sees Jack has challenged her. Tyrion's
Ooh.
only advice is to not let Jack kill her.
Yeah. She's like, thanks. Real
Violet,
helpful.
yeah, on the day of the challenge, Violet asks Liam to keep a secret for her. He agrees before knowing what it is, and Violet tells him that Jack is going to be allowed to challenge her today. And she can't tell him how she knows this.
Yeah.
And that Liam cannot tell Xaden because, well, he won't be here next year. And if he stops this after what happened with Amber, there will most likely be an uproar in the
Yeah.
quadrant.
Yeah.
Violet doesn't like this either, but she has everything she needs in her pocket to survive today. Liam will have to just stand by just like he has for the last two matches.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when the matches are announced, Jack is ecstatic that he's going to be able to take on Violet, and Riddick is shocked while Liam just goes pale.
Yeah.
Violet wants to know if the whole I die, then Xaden dies thing is just a theory, right? And Taryn's like, well, I don't want to test that theory.
Yeah. He's like, we will not be finding out today.
The fight starts, and Jack lunges for her right away, straight away.
Of course.
And Violet says that Jack probably wishes that he didn't know what it felt like to dig out one of her blades, right? And Violet does get in a few good stabs, and Jack goes for a death stab, but Violet's vest saves her, and Riddick is like, he's going for death blows. And Professor Amaretto, has to repeatedly remind Jack of the rules of challenges.
Yeah, like cool it down, buddy.
When he almost has Violet, she thinks of Xaden and she kicks Jack in the balls, and she has him. She should have taken that kill blow. And this is what Xaden is talking about. He's like, you need to go for this. And she doesn't. She's like, tap out, tap out, tap out. Even though she's following the rules of the challenges, this is Jack Barlow.
Yeah.
You have him again to kill him. You need to take this. And she doesn't. And you know what happens?
What happens, Megan?
He throws a dagger at her. It hits her forearm. She loses the upper hand. And then Jack's hands are on her face.
Oh, Riddick here, he notices that Jack is using his powers on her. And Riddick and Professor Amaretto try to step in and reach their hands at them, but they both back away. Whatever Jack is doing to Violet is transferred to them by touch. But Violet uses her best trick to defeat stupid Jack Barlow. Oranges, and he is allergic.
Yeah, I love how she just smashes it into his smiling face.
Yeah.
Smile.
She's like, oh yeah?
What kind of power is that with Jack that he's literally like burning her from the, I don't know what he's doing, but it's a freaking scary signet power.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they say signet powers manifest from the core of who you truly are.
True.
And he is an evil bastard.
And we don't even know what his signet power is yet. So this is like all confusing right here.
Yeah. I wouldn't know what to even call that signet power.
Yeah.
But it's not good.
No, it is not good at all.
So, of course, Violet tells Riddick what she did before she passes out. Like, you could have just let him die, but she doesn't.
No.
She's like, it's oranges. He's allergic. And she passes out. And later, when she wakes up in the healing quadrant, Riddick is not the one lounging in a chair next to her. It's Xaden glaring at her like he wants to kill her himself.
Yeah.
And he's just flipping his dagger and catching it without even looking at it. And he's like, oranges? Really?
Oh, I'm so happy to watch this little fucking banter continue.
Yeah, so that is how this section ends with
Yes,
oranges.
with oranges. And of course, Xaden is right at her side when she wakes up. So
Of course he is.
I can imagine he's probably a little pissed that he didn't know about what was going on, but
Oh, yeah,
we'll
but I
have to keep
mean,
reading to figure out that interaction.
if Zeta doesn't wanna talk about his feelings and the kiss they shared, she doesn't owe him anything like this.
That's true. Very true, Megan. And that's all we have for you today. Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about us, and we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start part 3 of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yaros, covering chapters 18 through 23. Happy reading!